Accucare Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine in Brick, New Jersey offers a state-of-the-art facility with all the best and current treatments. With athletic trainers, massage therapists, and doctors of physical therapy, Accucare has everything you need to stay healthy and perform at the highest level. Cupping, stretching, laser therapy, compression boots, and a full body cryo chamber are just some of what you can expect at Accucare. Check out their website and social media links in my bio. No prescription is needed to see them. So call them today and start feeling and performing at your best. Again, thank you to Accucare for sponsoring the Shore Football Report.
Now we'll talk about the small school sort of division, which has mainly Group 1 teams, but also a couple Group 3s thrown in there.
Yeah.
It's the division that Shore Regional and Asbury Park split last year, and now they have moved way up. So they're out of the mix in the Patriot division this year. It's Keensburg, Keyport, Point Beach, kind of your like longtime Group 1 local teams. And then you have Lakewood, Manchester, and Jackson Liberty. So a mix of the small schools and then some of maybe the struggling bigger school programs that are trying to get more on solid ground. Obviously an interesting division because there's going to be a new champion. You know, the champions from last year are gone. How do you look at a division like this where you have bigger schools like a Jackson Liberty, Manchester playing against these Group 1 schools?
Keyport they were tri-champs, Keyport.
Right.
You have Keyport, Point Beach, and Keensburg. 3 Group 1s that keep thinking like, hey, let's play our own size school and let's win a championship. Then they keep getting teams mixed in. A stat since 2019, those 3 teams, when they play a Group 2, 3, or 4, they've won 32%, only 32%. So they're struggling with playing non-divisional games
but that's what they had that crossover situation with the Greater Middlesex Conference there for a couple of years, which I thought worked out really well for our teams playing, Metuchen or Highland Park or these teams from Middlesex County. But GMC was getting a little tired of their teams taking losses from us and kind of fizzled out. So you're right. There's always seems to be those holes on the schedule for those Group 1 teams of like, how do we – remember a couple of years ago, they were playing each other twice during the season. Like Keensburg and Keyport were playing 2 times. Yeah, like where the 3 teams are playing, 2 other teams, twice during the season. That also seemed kind of ridiculous.
Scott, I want to answer your question. What you said, what do I think of the bigger schools? The bigger schools are not reloading, and within their own program, you have Jackson Liberty, who I think is going to be probably the favorite. Them or Manchester. Liberty has 6 starters back on both sides of the football. They have a very good junior class, and they were 3-1 JV and 4-2 freshmen, and they're going now to play Group 1s. And then you got Manchester, who's got 9 starters on both sides on O&D back, and they were competitive with. I mean, those 2 have to be the favorites. Now you add in
Jackson Liberty was almost a 500 team last year, right? I mean, they were 4-6.
I know. I mean, and they beat Keensburg last year 49-0. What was it? So Keyport comes in 7 starters and 6, and we know they got Nazir Treadwell. We know that 5-1 at JV, but sometimes the other guys around can't move the big Group 3 guys. So I don't think Keyport is a sure shot favorite at all.
Yeah, it's tricky because Keyport's skill guys, can stack up with anybody at bigger schools.
Yeah,
but usually the case when you see Group 1s playing the other schools is they don't have the depth on the line. Other teams might be 2 platoon if they're lucky, whereas these kids are playing the whole game, every snap, both sides of the ball for the most part. They don't have the depth of the other team, might be able to cycle in some fresh linemen, whereas this team's really just struggling to find 5 guys to get out there just to start. So yeah, I think it's a tough spot to be in, but that's what happens when you move Shore and Asbury out of the division, right? You have to fill that. They're the only other Group 1 teams. You have to fill it with some other teams. So I guess they figured they'd go with, Manchester, Jackson Liberty. I mean, Lakewood is a bigger school, but their numbers are almost like that of a Group 1 team. They've really struggled to just get enough kids out to they've always got some guys. Like they had some high scoring games last year, some exciting games. It's just a question of will they have enough depth wise most weeks to get to the finish line in some of these games.
LJ Clark's been there in that great run. He had 5 straight seasons of playoffs, but now he's got 6 starters back on both sides. They're no freshman team. They were 0-3 in JV because they don't have enough players. I feel bad. I mean, you got Point Beach, who's got 8 starters back total. They lost a lot. No freshman team. They were 2-4 in JV, so they're going to struggle this year. They are. And then Keensburg has 4 starters and 5 on O&D. No freshman team, 3-4. So they're struggling and they need wins to find some games right there. That's where we're at right now. It's hard to accommodate Group 1s if there's not enough Group 1s out there.
Yeah, Jackson Liberty plays Keyport September 16th. So that right there might be, one of those big separation games as far as this division race is concerned. You have Tommy Farrell trying to make strides at Manchester. He brought a lot of energy to that program. Yeah. Can they take that next step forward and challenge Jackson Liberty to win it,
Yeah. The Group 1s are upset because they feel like they're not being taken care of. Why can't they rather play Shore, who's a Group 1, Group 2 every other year? They want to play Asbury Park. Those are the competitive games. You win this year, we win the next 2. You win the next.
Yeah, I think the feeling is, you're putting us in a tough spot where how much of a shot do we have to win this thing against bigger schools?
Here's my issue. You put a Group 3 like Homedale. You put Homedale down there one time. All of a sudden, this might be Homedale's year, and they're beating the crap out of them. And what do? You go, okay, in a couple of weeks, we're going to change the schedule. It's too late. It's too late. You need to.
Yeah, and I think the tough thing, too, is with these Group 1 teams, some years they are, Shore Regional has years where they are good enough to play with a lot of much bigger schools.
It is what it is.
And same with Asbury in the late 2000s. Some of those state championship teams they had were incredible and could have gone toe-to-toe with Group 4 schools. And, Keyport this year with some of the players they have. But the point is to have to do that year in and year out is really difficult. So it's like maybe in one given year you can play with these schools, but not with any kind of regularity.
I have an issue. Let's just say a program's struggling and they're not winning. So you say, okay, you're going to play 2 groups down, and we're going to make it good for you. It's just and then
there is the argument that it's turn it around against schools your own size. You got at some point you got to start beating them. Why are we sending you down to play schools that are half your
Scott, in classroom, we take benchmarks. We want to see how our kids progress. So you do it in the beginning of the school year, and then you take them later on and say, oh, we got better. If you're an athletic director and you want to see the state of my program, how we are, well, then compare it to traditional schedules that everybody has played through the years. They can't. So if you said a team, let's say Marlboro, look how much better we got. Well, you're playing different kind of teams. You're not playing Mid-South anymore. You're not playing this. You're playing smaller schools. And that's what's going on. Athletic directors are making schedules easier and saying, oh, our program's so much better. Is it better, or are you just winning? And if it's
it remains to be, I think it's an interesting question that there's no easy answer, in that playing these lower schedules may help a school like Marlboro develop to where they're back to where they can beat Washington Township and they can go toe-to-toe with these better schools. But I also think, in other words, say Jackson Liberty, Manchester, whatever, wins this division this year and then gets moved up. Are they really going to be prepared to go to that bigger division after playing Group 1 schools the whole time? Like, I don't know. I doubt it. So, I know that they're trying to do them a favor with sort of saying these teams are on paper kind of equal to you. But when the school disparity size is that big, I don't know how that's totally helping. Like, if you're the bigger school and you're expected to win these games, like, you should go out and win these games by 3 or 4 touchdowns, like, because you have an advantage.
Point Beach is the smallest school in the state of New Jersey. There's no smaller school than them. And then you have Group 3s coming in and also on their division, and you're playing a Group 1 who doesn't have the numbers like those other teams do. It's not right. It's just not right.
But you know what? That's been problematic for years to some degree of what to do with the Group 1s. Like, even when they play each other, they still have to have non-divisional games. Like, even when Shore and Asbury were in a division, I mean, you joke about Kip Academy. This is like, that's like who they were calling. Like, all right, like, we'll go play them. But, that to me has been a struggle forever of, we have this handful of Group 1 schools. Yeah. But to me, I just felt like that division had great tradition. That when it was those teams plus Shore and Asbury, they all had long rivalries with each other. They were all fairly similar size schools. And you're right, they would trade it off. Asbury wins this year, Keyport this year, Shore a couple years in a row, this and that. And and Keensburg, would rise up, and they had some really good teams under Brian Kamak that, like, it was stable. Like, I just thought there was no real reason to break that up. As far as, is it really going to help Shore and Asbury, like we talked about in the other division, playing all the way up there, and then these other teams playing down? Again, they're giving it a shot. We'll see what happens. But I just don't know how it's really going to all shake out.
Well, it'll be interesting. Somebody is, somebody's going to be happy. Somebody's not going to be happy in that division. And the Group 1s have a chip on their shoulder. And,
but it also makes the non-divisional games for Jackson, Liberty, and Manchester a bigger deal. You know what I mean? Like, when you go outside this division, how are you competitive? Are you not? Like, you look at the schedule, what is it, Jackson Liberty that's playing Brick Township, I think, September 2nd? Or is that Barnegat?
Scott, my issue is when you, what's the word I'm looking for? When you want to cushion somebody's schedule and bring them down, it's not the job of the ADs to make them division champions. If you're going to bring some team down to another division, it's to be competitive. That's what it should be. Don't bring teams down to take over that division. That's not right. And that's not what it's meant for. And as a coach, I have an issue with that. And it's been doing this for years. People will go down a couple divisions and win the division when you're saying, wait, you are accommodating them for not being competitive, so they win it? Like, it should just be competitive. If a team is struggling...
That's what I'm saying, though. To me, the real barometer of the teams that win, or the team that wins this division, is how did you do if it's one of the bigger schools?
Yeah,
if it's Jackson Liberty or it's Metro, how did you do outside the division? To that, in other words, are you just looking great because you're rolling over these Group 1 teams? Yeah. Are you actually a decent team that can go outside this division, beat a school of comparable size to yours from another division, and get some wins in that area? So that, to me, those games will be pretty defining games for the bigger programs.
But the word that us coaches use is relief schedule. If you're giving somebody a relief schedule, you're saying, please let me be competitive. These teams that are moving down are winning it. They're like stealing it, and then they leave. Like, that's not what it's meant to be. If a team really needs to move down, it's to play other struggling teams to be competitive.
You look at like a Lakewood, right? I mean, that LJ's had some great teams over the years, but like numbers wise and everything that school and town have been going through, it's really tough right now. So that I can understand, because they have pretty unique circumstances among teams in the Shore Conference. But yeah, the Liberties and the Manchesters, it's like, why aren't you at least playing Pinelands and Barnegat and all these other teams and have to be better than them?
Scott, if you look at the history of it, Homedale won the bottom division and then left. Donovan Catholic won the division and left. Like, the problem I'm hearing from the Group 1 guys is you're bringing them down for relief. They're stealing the title and they're leaving. Like, it's not – these guys work hard too, the Group 1s. Like, they're like, we're just being fed to the wolves. I think they're bringing people down a little too quickly to win a division. It should not be that if you're giving the team relief to win a division, and that's what they're doing. It's not right. I don't think it's right. I think we're losing that historical competitive nature as coaches. If you want a better program, get better at your own program and beat those traditional teams, and that's how you'll see if your program's getting better. You're not getting better by playing smaller schools. You're not, and that goes for any of the divisions. You're not a better program if you're okay. We have 6 wins, but who'd you beat? I beat a Group 1. I beat a Group 2 has won. No. You get better if you beat your traditional teams you always play, and that's how you see if you got better.
It's the off season, and your rants are already in mid-season form. It's just like we're in the middle of September right now.
These are the conversations I have with coaches. We're all speaking the same language, but listen, that's just when people are changing our schedules up, it's being done for the wrong reason. And here's my other issue: we keep hearing that more teams are making the playoffs with the way we're doing it. Oh, really? Well, there's now 5 groups. So there's more teams that are involved in the playoffs. So those numbers are being used in our faces that aren't right. So if you want to say that more teams are being in the playoffs because of how they're changing the divisions, you're using the numbers a little the wrong way. We have 5 groups now instead of 4, which means more teams are making the playoffs all over the place. So that's that. I wish we went back to A South, B South, A North, C North. Create your divisions. Keep it. Play non-division games any way you want, but play your traditional teams. Let's get back to traditional, rivalry games, and you're still going to make the playoffs or you're not going to make the playoffs, depending on your wins and losses in those games. That's my rant. Well, with that, we're ending it. So good luck to everybody in this division. You'll watch when we shut off the summary of information on all your programs and also what players are coming back that made our all-star teams, all shore, all county, all division. There is a lot of talent in that division and guys coming back with that. So good luck to you guys. This is Scott Stump and myself saying see you later and see you soon in a couple months.